exciting news. If you haven't already heard, this is my time to shine and to let you all see what I've been working on. So, I've been working on an incredible piece of work. It is called Grace Over Grind. This is my book. It is out. It is available for download. I will have the description filled with the details of how you can purchase your copy and download it now. I do also have it linked in my bio on my YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram bio and my TikTok bio, so that you can get your copy. This book is really for you if you've been tired, grinding, running yourself down, and feeling hopeless as to how to stop the chaos and return to calm. This book is really going to help you get refocused and re energized and re engaged with God, with yourself, so that you can ultimately continue walking in your purpose. We are not meant to run on E. You can't even abide in God and please Him if you're unable to slow down, to hear Him, to rest, to pray, to study, and be nourished and nurtured by His presence. We are oftentimes running around, we're working so hard, we're saying, oh, God will understand, but we're not allowing ourselves to say, actually, I still need to tap in with God, even if it's a second, even if it's a thank you in my mind, even if it's a thought in my heart. But I need to make sure that I'm intentionally focusing on that relationship, nurturing it, and allowing Him to replenish my soul. The word tells us in John 15:5, which I just studied today with my women's group, to abide in me and I will abide in you, and that I'm the vine, He's the vine, we are the branch, and without Him we can bear no fruit. Branches alone can't bear any fruit. The word abide means to follow a set of laws, a set of rules, and we know God's laws are His commandments. And if we're not following His commandments, which is Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and then all things will be added onto us. If we're trying to seek all these different things and do everything in our own strength, we're not allowing Him to do for us what He needs to do for us, and to do through us and in us what He needs to do through us and in us. Instead, we're trying to accomplish everything on our own, and some things are impossible, but with God, nothing is impossible. So I wanted to come on live so that you all can be encouraged and know that God is with us. He's for us, but He wants us to come to Him. All of the beautiful plans and wonders and mysteries that He has to reveal to us cannot be revealed if we're too tired to tap in, if we're too tired to listen, to speak to Him, to pray, to study our word and allow the word to wash us, and to really be that living word that speaks to us and ministers to our soul. So with this book, it is 10 chapters, 10 steps of how to reclaim your purpose, power, and peace without compromising or losing or harming your femininity. Your femininity is a gift to God, gift from God to women. It allows us to really operate in the fullness of our womanhood without overstepping or overshadowing the masculine, or even without trying to dictate and control the masculine, as we've seen Jezebel. Jezebel is an example of a woman during the time of her life who used her femininity for the wrong things. She actually operated in that dark femininity, in seduction. She operated in evil. She had power from being a woman, but she knew how it affected the men around her. And as opposed to operating in her feminine and allowing God to work in her heart and her mind and use her and move through her, she used manipulation and deception in order to really captivate the mind and the senses of the men around her and to demonically dominate them. You can use makeup. Makeup in and of itself isn't evil, but when you're doing it in such a seductive way, when you're mixing and combining different things together to deceive and studying a man and seeing how you can seduce him or not allowing him to have a voice and a power and operate in his masculine energy or his masculinity, you're then manipulating what God made for pureness and goodness to be evil and to be of your own selfish ambitions. We have the beautiful Queen Esther who used her femininity to nurture herself. She used it with the 12 months of beauty treatment. So that's a form of being in your feminine. She was very rested, beautiful, pampered, taking care of herself. And then when she approached the king and she was made queen, she still went to him with a respectfulness. She still followed protocol and honor in order to even go into the king's court. She was the queen. She did have the power and the authority to just go in and to bring anything to him, but she still remained submitted to him in a respectful way to go to him with the proper protocols that anyone else who wasn't the queen was supposed to take. But because she knew that she had very big petitions to make to the king to save the Jews from being exterminated, she went ahead and did the more respectful thing and she followed proper etiquette and proper protocol. So if we even go back to the word John 15:5, we are set to follow rules. Abiding means like a law abiding citizen. Someone who's abiding is following the recommended rules, laws, precepts, and instructions that are given to them. And for us as Christian people of God, it is the instructions and commandments biblically that come from God through His Word. If we're following these laws, we are operating in our feminine in the way that the feminine operates with masculine and just with God, being submitted to God. When we're operating in a deceptive way, when we're rebellious, that is a way that we are operating not in the masculine, but operating out of alignment. We are not abiding by God's law at that point. So you want to make sure that when you are thinking of God, how can I operate in your grace and in your favor? You're allowing Him to help you. You're submitting to Him and His laws, and you're staying connected to Him. So this book is really a great way to stay connected or to get back connected with God and to really check in with yourself to see, how am I feeling? How have I been? What is going on with me? Why do I feel so tired? Why do I feel so just drawn out and just out of it? Why does everything feel like it's happening to me? Why am I only living for weekends and vacations? Why does my life every day not have the joy of the Lord? Where is His presence? Why can't I hear from Him and feel Him and I don't see Him and it doesn't feel like He's speaking to me? It's because you're not allowing yourself to stop people pleasing and please the perfect God that created us, that needs our obedience and needs us to be rested and jovial and energized so that we can do His work. So I wanted to show you all. I got a printed version of the book today, but it is only available as an ebook. But this is just going to be for promotional and for content. And I really just wanted to come on and talk to you all and see how you're doing. This is 10 chapters again. Let me see which one is my favorite. I would say chapter four. Oh, excuse me. Chapter four might be my favorite. So in chapter four, I go back into the archives of my life and I talk about how I had to really reclaim grace and glory in multiple ways with my hair, with my mind, with my understanding of the identity that I had from God, and even just the identity that I was walking in. I used to just accept what anyone else was speaking over my life instead of realizing that I had power and authority to reject, rebuke, and to say, let me test the spirit behind the person that is even speaking to me. And let me not just go with what anybody else says, but let me check in with my creator to see what is God saying about me? Who does he say that I am? So chapter 4 was a nice cathartic way of me just writing out what am I going through? What is life about? And what have I been through that got me to the point of understanding the value of etiquette and allowing God's grace and His glory to purify me, to wash me, and to refocus me to be the woman that He created me to be and no one else. Chapter 4, Etiquette, Reclaiming Grace and Glory. It was 2016 and I was on set. I used to be an actress, a stunt actress in LA. I had my little time in the spotlight, my little, what do they call it, 15 minutes of fame. So I was in a stylist chair with the hair full of knots disguised in a fro. As the stylist worked through the tango, she paused and asked, "You didn't prep your hair?" I defensively responded, "No, I wanted to keep it like my headshot, so I look the same." She didn't skip a beat. She said, "You show up how you want to be seen. It doesn't matter what your headshot looks like." That moment stayed with me. At the time, I couldn't fully receive the wisdom in her words because I was still wrapped up in a narrative of helplessness. And if you know anything about that helplessness narrative or that helplessness spirit, is rooted in the spirit of victim mindedness, victimhood, and it's also often rooted in pride, even in what about me, in everything has to somehow be revolving about me because, well, nobody cares, so that's why I'm acting like this, or that's why I'm doing this. And it is still some like a residue of a Jezebel attachment somewhere from my life, which we don't need to get into, but just so you know, if you're ever feeling like you're always acting like the victim and it's always about you and just no one understands, you're likely struggling with pride and you may even be fighting off Jezebel. I didn't yet understand that nurturing myself was my responsibility and that I had the power to do it. A lot of times I just felt like life was happening to me instead of for me, instead of realizing, like, no, everything that's happening is because of either something in your ancestral bloodline or your own decision. And you can't necessarily undo your bloodline. You can rebuke it, renounce it, denounce it, and break it off of the bloodline, break it off of your life. But you can't change what has already happened. The only thing you can really do is change how you now respond. A few years before the pandemic, I began revisiting the etiquette lessons I had learned in charm school. I am a product of charm school. I was in charm school from a young age. I believe I was like 4 or 5 when I started. With charm school, I used to love learning about etiquette. We learned how to set tables. We learned please, thank you, may I. We used to learn a little song that went to it, but he used the word magic, so I don't really sing it. But it was just a cute way of being introduced to etiquette. And in that time, I was actually learning about womanhood. So it seemed simple enough, but I hadn't held myself to those standards in years. I can pinpoint the moment my confidence started to unravel. It was when I began engaging in premarital sex. I lost my peace and insecurity became a familiar companion. Let's stop right there because has anybody else felt like once they were involved with certain relationships, whether it was an ex or the ex, that they just lost themselves, they lost their identity, they weren't as confident. Next thing you know, all these different types of insecurities. People are saying, oh, this isn't you, you've never been like this, you even look different. Your countenance changes because of your sin. Let me say that again. Your countenance changes because of your sin. Sin changes a lot of things about you. And when you're coming out of that, you're going to still have some of the residue, but mainly if you're still in it, you're still going to have a lot of those attachments to what you're experiencing, whether that's you realizing that you're entering into a soul tie and you're allowing someone to deposit any of their spirits, their thoughts, their mind, will, and their emotion, that's what your soul is now inside of you because you just allowed someone to deposit into you. So I knew that that was the start of me going downhill at that point. I remember a day in sociology class when a classmate mentioned that not all the women cross their legs. I had on jeans, but I wasn't presenting myself in a ladylike manner, and people noticed. Over and over again, others could see my identity and worth, but I was too deep in what the enemy had trained me to believe. I couldn't see myself clearly through the lens of Christ. A mutual friend once told me I was elegant and needed to present that. Did I listen? No, but in hindsight, I now understand I wasn't meant to blend in. I was supposed to remain set apart. You want to know who that mutual friend was? God is just so interesting because the person that actually spoke to me and one day was like, because at that point I was doing the whole dancing thing and I was acting and I was just trying to be the celebrity, the star, but I was doing it in my own strength. And this was actually a friend. He was someone that I mutually knew, but I grew up around him. And for whatever reason, he was just so on the money, so spot on. And he just said to me, your brand, like you naturally are very elegant. If I were you, I would stay away from certain types of gigs, jobs, roles, friends, social settings. Like your image is a certain way naturally. You should stay away from these types of opportunities. And you want to know what? He ended up being so right, more right than I ever would have imagined that he was. But the thing about it was, he saw me when I couldn't see myself. I could not understand what he was saying fully. It's like it spoke to my heart, but I didn't allow it to really like plant roots and grow something beautiful because I still had fallow ground. I still had a stony heart in some ways. And it was actually people who at the time I thought were friends who were like, oh, don't listen to him and he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't believe that. I don't think so. Like, I don't think that you should not take certain opportunities because like you don't want to limit yourself. They ended up being so wrong, and they're not even around to see this more evolved version because I'm not allowing them to be close to me because they don't have access to me in this nurtured beautiful way. Also because they don't fit into the type of friendships that now I require, not even require, but I need. Even when I was wanting to stay and hold on to different types of relationships, God was like, no, I need you here. And I understand so much now that I'm in this place why he needed me here and why he needs me to have really just Holy Spirit filled people who are going to speak life into me, call me higher, challenge me, tell me to read the Bible, tell me to say, hey, did you pray on this? Why did you not pray on this? And really keep me to the higher standard that God has us raised to and has us living by. And it's not even about like, oh, if it doesn't serve you, because I don't want to get into the words of the world where you're basically saying if someone's not making you an idol, you don't keep them in your life, because that goes against the word of God. But what I'm saying is, in the season that we were closest, I can see how they were keeping me in that cycle of sin. And now that I'm out of it, I see that I need the people that God has beautifully placed in my life now, because these are people who are very integral to my growth and I'm to theirs. Um, Proper etiquette is rooted in respect. First for yourself, then for others. The word tells us to love others as we first love ourselves. So if we're not loving ourselves first, how can we possibly love others? Yes, we need to serve. Yes, we need to at times sacrifice for those that we love. Yes, we need to really pour into other people, but you really can't pour from an empty vessel. You have to first know how to love yourself in order to learn and know how to love somebody else, and to know the difference between loving them versus completely disregarding yourself in order to people please and to be for someone else, but you can't even be for yourself, because that's not love. That is actually a form of self-sabotage. That's a form of self defeat, and we don't want to operate in that. I didn't respect others properly because deep down I didn't respect myself yet. I walked through life with a subtle sense of entitlement, feeling like someone owed me something because of all of the grief and all of the hurt that I've been through in my own life. The grief of losing my mother and the sudden weight of womanhood hit me hard. I didn't know how to carry it, and the truth is, I was never meant to. God was always meant to carry it for me. And when we really trust in God, He guides us to the right mentors, the right, um, how should I say this, role models, the right wisdom, and women who can really help us. But if we think we just have to keep trying to navigate it all on our own and just say a little 5-minute prayer here and there, we're not going to allow ourselves the beauty that is the grace of God, the favor of God to flow in life in ways that you're like, wow, I did not do anything. How did I deserve this? You probably don't deserve it, but God graciously gave you that favor because He knows that with that favor, you're going to be able to do the more that He has for you to do on this earth. Between 2015 and 2019, social media was flooded with the level up craze. I became hyper focused on becoming a high value woman, not for God's glory, but to attract a high value man. I returned to my charm school teachings, but my motives were rooted in idolatry, not intimacy with Christ. I have to stop there because the word does tell us we have to guard our heart for a reason, because out of it flows the issues of life. When you see that you have different issues in life, even if it's like, why am I not married yet? Where is this man? What's going on? I've done this, I've done this, I'm beautiful, I'm educated, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. When you realize that you have an idol that you've made of marriage, or an idol that you've made of maybe a specific type of promotion, a specific type of car, a person that you really are like, I'm going to be her friend. Whatever it is that is causing your heart to be hardened, instead of wanting to beat and breathe for God, it's hardened towards God and it's only wanting to do what you want to do. It's because you're not operating in the way that God tells us to operate. So guard our heart, but he also tells us to have a heart of flesh. And if you think of it, your real heart is soft and fleshy. It needs your chest cavity and these bones here to protect it. The same thing is for our spiritual heart, which is also connected to our mind, which could be interpreted as your soul. You want to guard it because when you have so many things that you're allowing into your mind, I've experienced this time and time again, you're then going to have certain things come out of your mouth. And when it comes out of your mouth and when it's a perceived thought, you're going to behave in that way, and everything is linked and connected to what was in your heart. So we have to guard our heart, and we also have to reflect and speak to God and say, God, I have this desire. Why don't I have it yet? God, I have this desire. Okay, is it from you? If it's from you, help me find scripture so that I can understand why you put it here and what you want me to do with it, Lord. What you want me to do. I so going back to the level up craze, I even hired a femininity coach who turned out to be a new age spiritualist. She taught me the art of seduction, small talk, and manipulation disguised as charm. I called her my spiritual godmother and allowed her to train me to be the ultimate seductress. She never married but was involved with a married man, and I knew it was wrong. Still, I continued to let her pour into me. Instead of turning to Jesus, I was turning into her for advice. You see you see what idolatry gets you? The road to sin really is death, because you don't get more dead than having the wrong types of mentors and influences pouring into you and not really wringing that out of you and going to the feet of Jesus. I had to repent for that. Yeah, I had to renounce it. I had to get out of agreement with it, and I had to get rid of those those the courses and the content that I had gotten from her, and even the thinking. She was trying to convince me that certain words that come from the Bible meant a different meaning, and that then I realized that I had adopted from her the antichrist spirit. I was still trying to pray for a husband with this prayer book called Prayers for Prayer, The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy or Martian. And I was using the prayers and praying, but at the end it always says in Jesus' name. And I realized that at that time, when I look back, I stopped wanting to say in Jesus' name. At the time, I did not know that that was an antichrist spirit that I was allowing in me, that I gave legal access to, because I was so obsessed and so much in deception, delusion, idolatry, and I was in error because I was not anywhere close to God, understanding what the scriptures were. I wasn't studying, and I was actually on my way to being a new age blind witch, so to speak, because I didn't know the word enough to know how much trouble I was in with God at that time. So that's a story for another day. But what I took from that season was this: how you enter a space matters, even if you can't control the space itself. Etiquette gives you a framework to move through the world with grace, respect, and self awareness. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's a reflection of self respect. And when done with love, it honors the standards God designed. Elegance isn't about aesthetic alone, it's about carrying yourself with dignity rooted in truth. You are not just representing yourself, you are representing Christ, the Creator, that calls for a different kind of refinement, a holy refinement, the kind that invites others to see Christ in you without you having to say it. Restoring etiquette reclaims your role as an ambassador of the kingdom. You represent heaven with every conversation, every entrance, and every fix it. I hope you all had an amazing time with me tonight going over chapter 4 of my new book, Grace Over Grind. You can get it at the link in bio. I know this is a live video, but I'm going to post this to my channel. I want you all to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all platforms at Samara Guillaume. The spelling is in my YouTube bio and on my YouTube page. It's been a pleasure to be someone who can learn with you, who can mentor you, and can help you do the right things because I've learned the wrong things and I know what not to do. So now I'm helping you to know what to do, especially as it regards to grace, favor, and resting in your femininity. My name is Samara, and again, I thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye.